Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on the life divine with our beloved brother Ranga. We are still in the sevenfold chord of being, page 283. Beginning with the paragraph, it follows that wherever cosmos is.
Yes. This is the last para of this chapter, and the chapter is the sevenfold chord of being. He is leading you slowly by the hand and showing you that there is essentially no difference between Satchidananda at the highest level, at the summit, and the physical cosmos down below. They are connected. So that's a sevenfold chord of being. They are connected through the sevenfold chord of beings. And he has told you that whatever is there on the highest level must also be here. If there is Sat, there must be something corresponding to that here. If there is Chit, there has to be something in the physical world corresponding to that Chit. If there is Shakti, there has to be something corresponding to Shakti. And if there is Ananda there also, there will be something corresponding here. It may not be the same. It may be diminished and even degraded and distorted. But it is essentially the same. That essentiality we can understand by the famous example of water vapor and ice. Essentially the same thing, taking three different forms. Okay? So, I read out the summary of the previous para so that we get the connecting link, and then we'll read the para. Once mind has been manifested by supermind, life and substance too must manifest because they are involved in each other. And if supermind has produced mind, mind also contains life and matter, so it is bound to come out because it's a process of involution. So, mind once manifested by supermind, life and substance too must manifest because life is simply determination of force and action, which means that life is a power that infinite prana divides itself into individual life units or units of living organisms or separate biological forms, plants, insects, animals, etc. So, there is a universal prana and it divides itself up into small units here. Mind you, it need not be life as we understand it. Even lightning is life, even the tide is life, even the storm is life. Prana. Okay? So, then he says, but these life units, just like mind units, can exist not only on earth but also on other planes of existence, and there in those subtler and purer and less finite planes, life and substance need not be like they are on earth. They can be very subtle, more plastic, more malleable, freer, therefore more real and even more powerful. So, the less gross they are, the more power they have, and the freer they are.
Are these the planes of the gods?
Below the planes of the gods also there are so many planes. There is a life plane, there is a mind plane, and then in the mind itself there are divisions. So in the mind also you have the mind planes where you have angels, we discussed last time, where in Indian thought we have Gandharvas and Kinnaras, okay? All the attendants of Kubera, all the attendants of Indra, these are all facts. They are not even the Apsaras. They are all real beings living in those worlds. And these worlds are subtler worlds and they are non-evolving. They are static worlds. There is no evolution there. Okay? So, therefore more real and even more powerful. The suggestion is that there can be different forms of mind, different forms of life and body, as in science fiction, in different parts of the universe. All this is possible. It's not impossible at all. Okay. So that's what he said in the previous para. Now we read the last para today. It follows that wherever cosmos is, the universe, the physical universe, there, even if only one principle be initially apparent, even if at first that seemed to be the sole principle of things, and everything else that may appear afterwards in the world seem to be no more than its forms and results, and not in themselves indispensable to cosmic existence, such a front presented by being can only be an illusory mask or appearance of its real truth. We'll discuss it in detail. Where one principle is manifest in cosmos, there all the rest must be, not merely present and passively latent, but secretly at work. In any given world, its scale and harmony of being may be openly in possession of all seven at a higher or lower degree of activity. In another, they may be all involved in one, which becomes the initial or fundamental principle of evolution in that world. But evolution of the involved there must be. The evolution of the sevenfold power of being, the realization of the septuple name, must be the destiny of any world which starts apparently from the involution of all in one power. There's a footnote there for power. In any given world, there need not be an involution, but only a subordination of the other principles to one or other inclusion in one. This also we will discuss in detail. Then evolution is not a necessity of that world order. It's an important footnote, we will discuss it. So, therefore, the material universe was bound in the nature of things to evolve from its hidden life, apparent life, from its hidden mind, apparent mind. It must, in the same nature of things, evolve from its hidden supermind, apparent supermind, and from the concealed spirit within it, the triune glory of Satchidananda. The only question is whether the earth is to be the scene of that emergence, or the human creation on this or any other material scene, in this or any other cycle of the large wheelings of time, its instrument and vehicle. The ancient seers believed in this possibility for man and held it to be his divine destiny. The modern thinker does not even conceive of it, or if he conceived, he would deny or doubt. If he sees a vision of the Superman, it is in the figure of increased degrees of mentality or vitality. He admits no other emergence, sees nothing beyond these principles, for these have traced for us up till now our limit and circle. In this progressive world, with this human creature in whom the divine spark has been kindled, real wisdom is likely to dwell with the higher aspiration rather than with the denial of aspiration, or with the hope that limits and circumscribes itself within those narrow walls of apparent possibility, which are only our intermediate house of training. In the spiritual order of things, the higher we project our view and our aspiration, the greater the truth that seeks to descend upon us, because it is already there within us and calls for its release from the covering that conceals it in manifested nature. The ideas are simple if you can get through the dense language. The language is very complex because Sri Aurobindo makes it absolutely accurate. Okay, so we'll start looking at each sentence. Okay, so first he has told you that Satchidananda is the origin of things, and it is manifesting through the supermind. And just briefly to resume what we have said earlier, supermind is the creator of the universe. If Satchidananda has to manifest itself, it has to go through the supermind. It is supermind that makes the one multiple. It's like the light, the white light at the highest level contains all the colors, but they are not manifested. So if you have a prism, it breaks it up into why 7 colors, infinite number of colors. So the prism is a supermind. It makes the one into the many, and the many become the manifestation. So the 7 planes of consciousness, Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda, supermind, the middle term, and the lower hemisphere, mind, life, body. So since they are all compressed into one another, like a collapsible telescope, if one comes out, the other is already there, it is bound to come out. That's what he's saying. So, it follows that wherever cosmos is, there, even if only one principle be initially apparent, even if at first that seemed to be the sole principle of things, and everything else that may appear afterwards in the world seem to be no more than its forms and results, and not in themselves indispensable to cosmic existence, such a front presented by being can only be an illusory mask or appearance of its real truth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lines. We'll have to go phrase by phrase. Then we'll understand what he's saying. So he has told you already that all the planes of consciousness contain all the others. It's like in the summary I have written, ether, air, we won't take 7, we'll just take 5 to understand the principle. Ether, air, fire, water. In ether, in the pure ether, that's fine. But as it starts manifesting, even in ether, half of it is ether. And there is 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8 of all the rest. In other words, in ether is contained air, fire, water, earth, potentially. You don't see it, but it is there. Just like the tree in the seed. Then you come down to the lower one, again that is prominent. The next is air. So when you see air is the prominent one, half. And the rest are all there in smaller degrees, half. This is what the Indian philosophy says. It may not be half, it may be less, but it's only a way of expressing. Okay? So everywhere, all these worlds, one is prominent and the others are all there involved. In other words, what is the most prominent in the physical world? Matter. Matter seems to be producing everything. Matter is the most important in the physical universe. But it contains all the others. So when it is coming out, life is coming out. But life does not seem to be absolutely essential. The universe is existing without life also. In other planets, in fact, that's what's happening. There's no life on other planets. Okay? So that's what he's saying. It follows that wherever cosmos is, there, even if only one principle be initially apparent. So let's take our physical world. Before life came and mind came, initially only matter was apparent. Even if at first that seemed to be the sole principle of things. It seemed that matter is the only principle. And everything else there may appear afterwards in the world, seem to be no more than its forms and results. So life is a form of matter, seems to be a form of matter, and even if life is not there, matter will remain. That's what he says. So, more than its forms and results, and not in themselves indispensable to cosmic existence. So, such a front presented by being can only be an illusory mask or appearance of its real truth. Why is he saying this? Why is he saying that matter is an illusory thing? Because it contains all the others, and the others are higher up and more real and more subtle. So if that is the reality, this is only the mask. That's what he's saying. So matter is producing these forms, but the reality is up there, we have seen. So this is only the masks. So in the physical world, mind and, in fact, all, Satchidananda, Supermind, mind, life, are all involved and embedded in matter. So matter is sort of veiling all these things. That's what he's saying. And this is true of all the other planes. So when you come to life, life is the most prominent. But in life, the possibility of matter is there, the possibility of mind is there. When you come to mind level, again, mind is the most apparent. If you experience the mind plane of consciousness, you will say, oh, it's only mind. But in that mind, there is supermind, there is also life, and there is also matter. Okay? So this is what he's saying. The world seems to know more than its forms. Such a front presented by being. Now, the word being means existence. And existence, you can think of it as substance. Can only be an illusory mask or an appearance of its real truth. The real truth is the highest Satchidananda, and it has come down and involved itself in matter. So that's the real truth. It is hiding in matter. Where one principle is manifest in cosmos, there all the rest must be. Not merely present or passively latent, but secretly at work. This is interesting. So life is there and mind is there in matter. But don't think that they are only latent. They are also secretly working there. You remember he, in one another place, he expresses this in another way. He says that it's not only possibility, it's only a dynamic.
Yes.
You remember? He uses those words. I've forgotten the exact place there. But it is dynamic, it is working.
Potentiality.
That's right.
Dynamic potentiality.
Yes. Not a possibility. Okay, it's not a passive probability. It's not a passive probability, but a dynamic potentiality. Like the difference between a seed, we discussed that. A seed placed on the table has the potentiality to become a tree. But it will never become a tree if it's on the table. Impossible. It has to be put into the ground, it has to be watered, it has to be given the right conditions, then it becomes dynamic potentiality. So that's what Swami is saying. The life is there, not passively waiting. It is dynamic, it is working to come out. Okay? So not passive, not merely present and passively latent, but secretly at work. It is dynamic, it is working to come out. In any given world, its scale and harmony of being may be openly in possession of all seven at a higher or lower degree of activity. Now that's exactly what we discussed. All these planes, 7 planes, each one contains all the others in a lesser degree. Matter is the most prominent here. It contains mind and life and all the others in a lesser degree. In life, all the others are there in a lesser degree. Mind also a lesser degree. If you go to the supermind, it contains all these, but you will not see these things. Like the seed contains the tree. You will not see them. Supermind is the most prominent, but it contains all the others. So this is this gradation that he's talking about. Okay? So in any given world, its scale and harmony of being may be openly in possession of all the 7 at a higher or lower degree of activity. In another, they may be all involved in one, which becomes the initial and fundamental principle of evolution in that world. But evolution of the involved, there must be. Now he's saying something very interesting. He's saying that if they are involved, evolution is bound to happen. Okay? But involvement is not necessary. That's the next one he's saying. The evolution of the sevenfold power of being, the realization of its septuple name, sevenfold, Sat, Chit, Ananda, supermind, mind, life, body. If you want the Sanskrit term for supermind, they call it Vijnana. Okay? Instead of the uses the word gnosis or truth consciousness. He doesn't like the word supermind.
Or real idea.
Yeah, that's right. So, the evolution of the sevenfold power of being, the realization of the septuple name, must be the destiny of any world which starts apparently from the involution of all in one power. So, if there is involution, evolution is bound to happen. Because they are there and they are secretly acting, so they have to come out. Now he says something interesting. Therefore, the material universe was bound in the nature of things to evolve from its hidden life, apparent life. So life is hiding in matter, it has become apparent life. Why is he saying apparent life? Animals are apparent life, they are real life. So why is he saying apparent life? Because the true life is Chit, Shakti. That's why this is apparent life. It's not, it is a limited life. The real life is Chit Shakti.
Now, Madhav Pandit told me once that without the involution, there could be no evolution.
That's right. And if there is involution, there is bound to be evolution. That's right. That first idea was given very strongly by Vivekananda. He said, without, we see evolution, but involution has to be there. Otherwise, there can't be evolution. So, then, so this is what he's saying. Hidden life from apparent life. From its hidden mind, apparent mind. And it must, in the same nature of things, evolve from the hidden supermind, apparent supermind, and from the concealed spirit within it, the triune glory of Satchidananda. Now, when you speak of hidden supermind and apparent supermind would be manifested in earth, but the real is up there. In other words, there would be a difference between the real supermind and the manifested supermind in the earth. That would be apparent supermind. Just like the subtlest Sat has become gross matter here, this is apparent Sat. Then Chit Shakti is life, but this life is apparent Chit Shakti. It's not the real Chit Shakti. It's a deformed one, it's a degraded one, it's a veiled one. That's what is meaning.
In supermind, I mean, like you're saying, when supermind will manifest on the material,
it will be conditioned by matter, life, mind. Now note this, very interesting. You take 2 glasses of water, okay? One is pink, one is blue. If I put this pink into that blue, the blue is going to condition the pink. So that's exactly what's happening. When the highest comes down into the lowest being the most dense and powerful, it is conditioning life. So
but
life
isn't the principle of supermind beyond conditioning? Like, isn't it the
that is at its origin. But when it comes down, it will be conditioned by matter, life and mind.
But wouldn't it change matter, life?
Yes, it will have the power to change, but it will still be subject to the influence of matter, life, mind. It will contain all the three. That's why he's saying apparent supermind. He's saying very clearly.
But then, as the evolution progresses, will it manifest in its fullness at one point in the supramental world or whatever, like?
Infinitely.
Huh?
In infinite time.
In infinite time. Who knows when that time?
So it
Right.
is something like the way an artist is depicting maybe beauty or nature, and he's depicting the apparent form of nature. I mean, I'm asking you, can that be like an example? Like the way an artist is painting, landscape or the beauty or the light, that's what they try to paint. So it is the apparent light, the apparent beauty.
I was exactly going to use the same image, okay? And nature is there and you make a painting. It's very similar, but it's not the same thing. So, in fact, the world is an image. That's what Mayavada is saying. The world is only an image, it's not a reality.
And then again, it's up to the artist's intuition, how he intuits, how he develops his intuition.
Yes.
That is how he will perceive the
That's
light.
right. So, supermind, even at the highest level, is pure supermind. But when it comes down here, it will be a representation of supermind. But will it stop there? No, it will keep going. That was her question. It will keep going, keep going. When will it reach the highest? Some point in future. We can't say when. I don't think there can be a climax and a denouement, an ending.
Yes, yes.
The happy ending is at every stage. This is a happy ending, that will be a happy ending, even happier ending. If you say that there is an end, you are limiting God. You can't limit God. So,
There is no end or none can yet be seen.
yes.
Sorry.
But this raises one question. And automatically a question comes up. That means to say we will never know the reality. It's disappointing. You may feel like that. But
aspiration goes
But you must not feel like that, because the infinite is not we can't conceive of it. Even when I go from my mind to higher mind, it is so fantastically satisfying that the question doesn't arise. So when you go from one level to another level, tremendously satisfying. But there can be more and more satisfaction, more and more satisfaction. So there is no scope for feeling that, oh, I'll never know the truth. No. Another thing, at these higher levels, the essence of the truth can be realized. Not its fullness, perhaps. In fact, Mother says in one place, you can truly know the divine if you know the whole universe at the same time.
Yes, yes.
She says in one of her messages. Okay, so so now this apparent mind is now very clear. Na? There is the real mind, the supermind. It makes an apparent mind, our human beings, but there is a hidden mind in matter.
But we are talking about this in relation to matter.
Yes.
Manifestation
Yes.
in matter.
That's
Okay. My question is now, if the individual, an individual being,
Yes.
he is open to the influence of, say, the supermind.
Okay.
Okay. The supermind is working in the individual in a conditioned way.
Yes.
But at a moment, can the individual, even though it's working in a conditioned way in the material existence, but can the individual become conscious of the essence of the supermind in fullness?
Nili, not only can he be conscious, but his consciousness can rise and experience the highest level, pure supermind it can rise into.
And become
There is
the
an ascent
divine.
and a descent.
Right.
And become the divine.
Yes. In fact, becoming the divine is very relative. If you go to the higher mind, you are more divine than the normal man. If you go to another level, you are more divine, more divine. That's why Srinath uses the words true truth, perfect perfection. There's never end. Everything is relative. Okay? So your question is a valid one, yes. But Srinath experienced the supermind. He experienced the overmind, and the overmind became a reality in his body, but not yet the supermind. It's clear? There's an ascent and a descent. Ascent you can go. And that's what the Mayavadan is doing. That's what the ascetic does. He goes up there and says, oh, this is perfect. I don't want that. My consciousness is merged with that. I'm more than satisfied. He wants to remain there forever. Srinath has a different idea. He says, no, I want all that to come down here.
So he brings it down through his poetry.
Pardon?
He brings it down through his poetry.
Not poetry. Poetry is an expression, but not poetry. By his force, by his consciousness, by his ananda. That's the reality. Yeah.
But did he not bring the supermental into the earth when he left his body?
Not when he left his body. The permanent thing occurred on 29th February.
But that was mother.
That's her mother. Yeah. No. The real transformation, the bringing down the supermind into matter took place on 29th. That was done by mother. But he was there in the subtle world helping.
Ah, okay.
In fact, Amal has written that it was a strategic withdrawal. Okay? You sometimes in military strategy, you retreat for a better consolidation and then you attack again. So Srinath retreated, it was a strategic retreat.
Because he could work more
Powerfully in the higher planes. That's right. That's what he says. And that sounds very correct.
Can we say the same about mother's withdrawal?
Nobody is there to tell us. Nobody is there to tell us. But the withdrawal is definitely, it was intended. Because there is a pattern of withdrawal between mother's withdrawal and Srinath's withdrawal. There is a tremendous relation between the two.
How? I've never heard this.
Look, what I'm going to tell you is my own theory. Okay? You won't find that anywhere. But if it convinces you, fine. Mother and Sri Aurobindo are the same consciousness in two different bodies. This we all agree, right? So there must be a connection. Now, the whole universe is one, and what happens at one place gets reflected in many other places. That also we know. Okay? In fact,
Like ripple effect.
yes, the butterfly effect also they call it. Okay? The wings of a butterfly can create a storm elsewhere. Even science is telling you that. So, there is a connection between these two. If there is a subtle connection, that connection must be seen somewhere. What I mean is, an individual's horoscope. What is the individual's horoscope? Are the stars really determining your life? No. It's an image of what you are. At the time you are born, there is an image in the physical world which will tell you this is likely because these are the conditions of your life. This star is in this position, that star is in this position, Shani is here, Shukra is here, they will tell you that's a horoscope. So horoscope is not determining your life. Horoscope is telling you these are the influences under which you are born. Okay? So there is a connection between the individual and the universe. So that connection, do we see in Mother and Sri Aurobindo's lives? Okay? I told you this is my theory. You are willing to accept or not is another matter. What I am trying to say, because there are many people who say mother's withdrawal was not. There are some who say
It was
accidental.
our failure.
Yeah.
It was our failure.
Yeah. So I am trying to say no. It was meant to be. Okay. So look at all the dates. Let's look at Sri Aurobindo's and mother's dates. Okay. Sri Aurobindo is born on the 15th of August. Mother is born on 21st February. 21 minus 15? 6. Okay. Now, does this pattern get repeated elsewhere to show the connection between the two? That's what I'm saying. So, February, mother's birthday. August, Sri Aurobindo's birthday. What does it mean again, the difference? 6. Mother is born in 1878. Sri Aurobindo is born 1872. 6. Chance? Very doubtful. Okay. Sri Aurobindo came here on the 4th of April. Mother's final arrival was 29th March. 6. Okay. Now, Sri Aurobindo passed away exactly at 1:25. Very precisely 1:25 he passed away in December, on December 5th. When did mother pass away? 17th November 7:25. Precise. Is there a connection? So could it be a chance? My theory is it was meant to be.
So what is the meaning of 666?
Pardon?
6.
Oh, that I don't know. I'm saying it's a connection. It's a connection I'm establishing between the two. A very intimate connection between the two. So, you're free to take it or... Now, I'm mentioning this because there was a big controversy at the time when mother passed away. The controversy was that you people have interfered. Those who were the attendants, they had interfered and they should not have done what they did. So, I'm saying it's not necessarily like that.
Also, mother being the divine mother, she knew, right? She knows what she's doing, what's happening to her. So her withdrawal was also conscious.
Let me tell you one thing. Mother says repeatedly towards the end, I am not being told. I am only being ordered to do the work. But I don't know what's going to happen. Very clearly she is saying that. It is not told to me. It is being hidden to me from it. I am just being told to do the work. I am the instrument. But I don't know what's going to happen. So you thought that no. Because you must remember, just now we discussed,
She was being told.
By the divine. You mean to do this work, that's all. But if she says, what could it be, when will it happen, how will it happen? No, that's not being revealed to me. In the Notes sur le Chemin, very, very clear. There are some things which are not revealed. The time when it will come, all these things will not be revealed. And there is a reason for that also. The reason is that the supermind is infinite. How can a limited mind know the infinite? So it may take it may decide to do anything which you can't understand. So the limited mind cannot understand. Even a spiritual mind, we now see that it's not possible because the supermind is so infinite. Shall we finish the rest of the... Okay, so if involution is there, evolution is bound to happen. And the evolution, there is hidden life in matter is becoming apparent life, and the real life is up there. Okay, so there's 3 levels: hidden life, apparent life, real life. Again, the same thing with the mind also. Okay, hidden mind, apparent mind, and the real mind up there. Okay, it must, in the same nature of things, evolve from its hidden supermind, apparent supermind. Srivastava is very clear about it. He's saying apparent supermind. In other words, supermind will be conditioned here by it will be something far superior to mind, but still it will be a representation of mind. You can go to there, and there you will see what the supermind is. But if you want it in the physical world, it will be an image. It won't be the reality. It won't be that reality. But it will change things in a tremendous way, just like the difference between animal and man. The animal exhibits, although mind is present in animal, but he can never invent the radio, he can never invent the animal will never invent the radio or the computer. Not possible. But when it comes, it becomes. So same thing with mind and supermind. What mind can't do, supermind will be able to do. But still it will be an image of that in the door. That's why very clear. Apparent supermind. And from concealed spirit within it, the triune glory of Satchidananda. It will express it. Satchidananda will be expressed here in physical terms. Physical, mental, vital terms. Okay? So, the only question is whether the earth is to be the scene of that emergence or the human creation on this or any other material scene. Could it be that this evolution is already taking place somewhere else in the universe somewhere? Is it possible that there are other civilizations far superior to human beings? That's what he's saying. We don't know. But in the book The Mother, he says the evolution is there, of which the earth is a significant center. He uses the word significant center. So, definitely it's going to take place here. Okay? But maybe other places already it has happened, or it may happen in future. We don't know.
Like in Record of Yoga, Sri Aurobindo has a sentence called Mars being the last theatre of man. So now I was having some conversation during my work. He interpreted last as the definition being previous. But there are 2 definitions of last. Yeah. One is previous and one
ultimate.
Is ultimate. So now what do we see it as? Like
I don't know. I absolutely don't know.
Sri Aurobindo uses such words which have 2 contradictory meanings.
No, that's right. Because man is already thinking of going to Mars and utilizing. They are thinking in very commercial terms. Oh, we'll find a lot of gold there. We'll find metals. We'll find rare metals. We'll be able to extract, do mining and bring it back to Earth. All sorts of ideas are there. So if colonization of other planets is going to happen, that is sure. So life would go there. So where it will happen, we don't know. Okay, so that's what he says. The only question.
So, like, it can be interpreted both ways. Like the fact that probably life existed in Mars before, okay, and then now there is life existing on Earth, and then probably again there would be life on Mars.
See, these things are all beyond our mental understanding, because even what is meant by the solar dynasty and the lunar dynasty? Okay? We know that Rama's is a solar dynasty, and there's another. The Chinese are supposed to be lunar dynasty. There's even a suggestion that there was life on the moon at one time. So these are things, imponderables.
Like there is, which since you talk about this, there is a movie called The Tale of Princess Kaguya. Do you remember? So that's a beautiful film about this young girl who is on Earth, but she has come from the moon. And she's having all these experiences. She is seen as the princess, as a being of light and everything. And then towards the end, like Buddha comes from the moon to take her back. And
Yeah. As I told you, these are all very difficult things, and it's beyond. In fact, let me tell you one thing. There's a video which I saw the other day. There's a young boy in Russia. Okay, he's saying, "I have come from another world." So what that means? He's still living. Okay.
Mother told Buddha also, no?
Huh?
Mother told Buddha also. You are coming from.
That I don't know. I have not seen that.
but mother herself says about herself that from a very young age, she felt that she was not a being of this earth.
Yes.
She
In fact, she has memories of right from the beginning of creation, she says. She says, I've been there right from the beginning of creation. So, let's finish the paragraph, okay? The chapter even. The only question is whether the earth is to be the scene of that emergence, or the human creation on this or any other material scene in this or any other cycle of the large wheelings of time, its instrument and vehicle. So what is he saying about the large cycle? In fact, there have already been 6 cycles, okay? And there was destruction, pralaya. So we know that Atlantis existed at one time. It went down. So like that, there have been 7 cycles. So one more cycle. Is this one? Is there a possibility that we'll destroy ourselves?
Mother said no.
Your mother said no.
Said there will be no seven.
Yes, this time it won't be. Okay. So this what. But Srimda wrote this 100 years ago. Okay. So for the vehicle, the ancient seers believed in this possibility for man. He is talking of the Vedas, where they speak very clearly of man, Nara Narayana, going in a chariot, and they become one at the highest level. So there is evolution is there, and perfection is very, very possible. Okay, even in the physical world. The ancient seers believed in this possibility for man and held it to be his divine destiny. The modern thinker does not even conceive of it, or if he conceived, would deny or doubt. Okay, if he sees a vision of the Superman, it is in the figure of an increased degrees of mentality or vitality. He is referring to Nietzsche. And Nietzsche had the word Superman, he used the word Superman, but in his view of things, he had, if you have powers of mind, there will be higher powers of mind. If you have powers of life, there will be higher powers of life. So, the suggestion was there in his that they will have the right to lord it over the others. So this lording over others, Srimdo doesn't agree with this at all. Because he says we have had enough of that type of asuric thing. That's not the Superman that I am thinking of. Okay, so let's read that. Okay, if we see the vision of the Supermind, it is in the figure of increased degrees of mentality or vitality. Srimdo's Superman is qualitative Superman, not a quantitative Superman. Okay, that's the difference. Nietzsche's is quantitative Superman. It is in the figure of an increased degree of mentality or vitality. He admits no other emergence, sees nothing beyond these principles, for these have traced for us up till now our limit and circle. We have been limited to the mind. Of course, conditions have changed now. Okay, so now even science is recognizing that the brain is not the creator of thought. That thought and consciousness can be separate from the brain. They have come to that. It's one more step. But Srimda is saying they don't believe. But that was 100 years ago he wrote this. Okay. In this progressive world, with this human creature in whom the divine spark has been kindled. Now, the human creature the divine spark has been kindled. In the animal, is there no divine spark? It is there, but it's not kindled. And what is that? The psychic being. The psychic being is it has been kindled, it has been lit. Okay? So that's the difference between man and animal. An animal can never do yoga, not possible. It's not that level. Just like a worm also cannot be like a cat, ever. It's a far superior. There are levels of consciousness. So, the divine spark has been kindled. Real wisdom is likely to dwell with the higher aspiration rather than with the denial of aspiration, or with the hope that limits and circumscribes itself within those narrow walls of apparent possibility which are only our intermediate house of training. Okay. The possibilities that we are going on increasing more and more. Man has created fantastic things with his mind. He has created the mobile, he has created the aeroplanes, he has created so many things. This is only our intermediate house of training. We are only being trained to go to the higher level. So he says the truth can be found surely at a higher level, okay, with a higher aspiration, because the divine spark has been kindled. Okay? And so, in the spiritual order of things, the higher we project our view and our aspiration, the greater the truth that seeks to descend upon us, because it is already there within us and calls for its result from the covering that conceals it in manifested nature. Now look at that phrase, it is already there in us. He's talking of the involution. The whole chapter he has written to show that the 7 planes of consciousness are all there here. So, very clearly he's saying, they are already there in us. So, it is not that you are discovering something new, but you are uncovering something. That's the suggestion. These are his words. We are not, all spiritual experience is not a discovery. It's a remembrance. Oh, I knew it, but I had forgotten about it. He says that. Okay, because you already have all that in you. So that brings us to the last. Okay, so again, a quick summary to finish. We may have crossed the time, but we'll
No, we have 10 minutes.
Okay. So what he's saying in this last part. Thus, wherever cosmos exists, all these 7 principles must exist also. But all the 7 need not be equally manifest, even if not visible. In the higher planes, one principle predominates, but the others are present too. Okay? Playing second fiddle. In life, mind is there, supermind is there, but we're playing second fiddle. Okay? We must remember the formula of Indian philosophy. Each plane, half plus 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8 of each other. They are involved in each other. For all the 5 or 7 elements. Again, we may note that evolution is not an absolute necessity on all these planes. One principle dominates and the others are subordinate. Also, there are typal static planes that do not evolve. Okay? But where all are involved in one power, as in matter, the evolution of all is bound to come into play and all will be manifested openly. Life hidden in matter emerges. Mind hidden in life emerges. Similarly, supermind hidden in mind must emerge in its proper time. The only question is, will this evolution take place on Earth or elsewhere in the vast cosmos? Again, when will it occur? This too is an imponderable, but it is an absolute certainty that it will happen. Okay? We must also note that the Superman, the Gnostic being as envisaged by us, is not the mere aggrandizement of present man with all his capacities, but also all his limitations and impurities. This would be a Nietzschean Superman. Our conception of the Gnostic being is a spiritually perfect, qualitatively superior being, a divinized human being. This is what he's saying in the para. So that brings us to the next chapter. Supermind, overmind, and the divine Maya. Supermind, mind, and the overmind Maya. We will take it up next time. Before we start reading, we'll try and define supermind, mind and overmind, and then Maya also. What is Maya?
Thank you, Ranga. Namaste all.